Now folks, immediately after the previous video on the pylons, I want to take what's been said. What's been proposed is to put them underground. In other words, they'd have to put like the corridor in a long bungalow, that type of an underground structure, and hang the cables on the wall, and a person can go in and out. There's issues with bogs, and there's issue with water, and there's issue with lakes, all that. I'm not going in there. If they want to go that route, they could have explored it. That's another day's work. The planning permission at the moment is for overhead line. And the first big issue, apart from what I've said before, I would look at is, do EirGrid need to get an extension of the 5-year planning permission? They claim, I've been on to them, they claim no, the EU regulation says that they don't have to extend it, and yet Irish law says they have to apply for an extension of time. There's a ground straight away to go in, and there is a ground straight away, along with the lack of the SEA, which says there has to be a strategic environmental assessment and an environmental report for energy, and that sets the framework for the project under the EIA and Habitats Directive of the EU law and Irish law, which is all the same. So there's two. You have the lack of the SEA, one, and two, you have the fact that they never sought an extension of time, and you could have a bit of an argument about that. Now, that's just to be looked at. I haven't studied that, but that's what Porpanola are saying. That's what they said to me. We don't need to extend the time, and they've told me that. Okay, so they're saying this planning permission granted in 2016 lasts effectively forever. I don't know. You can look it up. I'm just saying, if anyone got serious, there's something to look at. Okay. Now, the cost of taking a judicial review to the High Court is money up front. Barristers won't take the risk, because there's no doubt there's people who would get the barrister to fight for them and not pay them. You'll have to have the money up front. You're talking about 40 grand, 40,000 euros with VAT and all for the first stage in the High Court. I don't know what it'll cost after that. I could find out if someone got serious, but you're talking about probably 15 to 20,000 to appeal to the Court of Appeal, maybe less, because all the work's done, you know, and then you go on to the Supreme Court, and I don't think that's that high, but you'd want to have 65 grand gathered up, and that happened in some cases. I know I was very surprised how they managed to get the money. Some very plucky people, great, you'd know they were decent, you'd know they were honest, they were determined, and I was glad to help them because I knew I was getting somewhere. The problem with the pylons is there's only a few people who side with me at all, and they think still that the politicians are going to fix it for them and all that. And look, I just don't have time to bother wasting my time with that. Unfortunately, there are a few great people I'd love to give them a help with. And if a group goes into the High Court, the other groups will say, oh, let them go on, so we're not getting involved in that, you know, we're not getting involved. What the hell are they for? What the hell are they for? The fact is, this is coming. This is 2003. They're starting in 2004, 2005. Now, I want to deal with the billhook option, the physical force. Just look at the history. Look at the Roscommon evictions. They came out twice. There was 2 attempts made to seize the property. The bank gave out a big loan, and the people couldn't pay, and the bank seized the property in court, and then they had to take it and put them out. There was 2 attempts. On the second attempt, there was a bit of a schmozzle, there was a bit of rolling around, there was a bit of physical, and then the state with the sheriff took control and handed it to the bank and the bank's representatives, and the bank's representatives stayed there overnight, and the guards did not provide any security, which I think for a day or two is very, very strange. I think that smells a bit, but they didn't provide any security, and in any event, these people came back and they beat up the people inside. Where are those people today? They are serving 15 years apiece in prison in Mountjoy Jail. 15 years apiece in Mountjoy Jail. That's a criminal conviction. They can't get out for purging their contempt. They're in for assault. Now, over in the Corrib gas fields, what happened? There was a big protest there, Shell to Sea and all this. What happened? They done jail as well. Oh, they're on the late show, or this and that. But Belmullet is booming, according to reports. I haven't been over there. And In fact, it's getting to the stage now they're nearly going to think the gas is well buffed, as well going down, and they'll try to have to explore somewhere else. But that just shows you it was used. What happened to Rossport 5? They were put in jail for contempt. That's different from doing jail for a crime. They could sign their way and get out. Anyway, they got out eventually. But they won nothing. Look at the Sean Quinn debacle. Now, Sean Quinn says he had nothing to do with it. The fact is, somebody must have been plugging for him, or somebody who wanted him put back in charge of his former companies was engaging with a criminal from Dublin. There was a criminal from Dublin doing damage. He wasn't doing that for nothing. He wasn't doing that out of the goodness of his heart. When Quinn started up in business, that criminal wasn't even about the place. He's dead. 2 people the man got nearly killed, and it was investigated, and those 2 guys are serving life in prison for this, or very near. They're serving a very, very long sentence in Mountjoy jail. Now, when the push comes to shove, where will the leaders of the organisations that are there be? Will they go into prison? Or will they coax some other lad to go and do something mad? I was at the farmers' protest in Ballyjamesduff, and this idiot, who was later convicted of polluting and setting up an illegal scrapyard, stopped me informing the farmers what the law was, and I had to go off. And the meat processors took legal action, and I heard the farmers themselves saying they were very worried about it. They were going to take a seizure on the lands on which the loans and all were based, and they were going to take possession of the lands for stopping the meat processors selling and producing their meat. Do you get what I mean? I heard them physically say, "We're afraid." When they said that, the fella that was pushing the lads, all the farmers, to go mad and abuse people and tear up summonses, rip everything up. This is what he was on about. Rip it up. Oh God, get it like that. And he abused me and came over to me. Oh, this is what you do with the summons. That's all you do, or court document. That's what he said. He was sitting over there with a pair of suede shoes on him, and the farmers were here beside me down in Ballyjamesduff, and he never opened his mouth after him roaring on the road that he knew the law better than they did. They were told by their lawyers what the situation was and they better settle this, and he said nothing, and none of the farmers backed me when I tried to tell them the law, and none of them said, "Oh, well, you were right in a way, you know." No, they don't do. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So the point about it is, there's 3 examples. Now, what is being put forward by the violent campaign, or well, they're not coming in on my land, I have a plan now, be good. You're not going to be dealing with Airgrid. You're going to be dealing with the Irish Garda Síochána. You're going to be dealing with the Irish Army. You're going to be dealing with hundreds of hired people. Look at the money Airgrid has. Hundreds of hired people. They'll be roaring, "Oh, look at that fella down from the north. Oh, look at them Dublin fellas coming down to our land." Under the Electricity Act, going back 100 years nearly, they're entitled to come in if they go through a certain process, and it seems to me they're going through that process right now. So my point is, if you're resorting to that kind of pushing and shoving, you'll probably say to me, "Oh, you're an old coward. What did you do?" What are the leaders of the organisations doing? See where they're going, right? What are they going to do? I would certainly turn up and protest. But when it comes to me taking on the state and committing an illegal act and damaging property and going up to prison, I know there wouldn't be 2 people that come up to see me on a Sunday and bring me a couple of oranges. That's the hard reality. Now, with that said, there's nothing stopping you doing this. You can do what you like. But it hasn't worked anywhere up to now. And when it didn't work in the Fermanagh-Cavan border, which would be classified as a sort of bandit country, where there was years of terrorism by the IRA, the UDA, all the Republican and loyalist paramilitaries, and all of that. When it didn't work for the people who were plugging to get Quinn back into his and stop the takeover by this Manor crowd, when that didn't work in that environment, how is it going to work in Minalty? How is it going to work in, what do you call that place up there? Carnaross. Patrickstown, is that the place? Lissagowan in Cavan. What do you call the other place? Cordlass. Corryhallman. Muff. On across the way by Terworker. When it didn't work in the place I said in Fermanagh, why is it going to work there? What is so different there? Everyone in that place voted Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin. Everyone. They all support the state. And they're all offered big money. When it didn't work for them, why is it going to work in the case of the Pylons? I have said this should not be allowed to go ahead without the proper environmental report conducted under the SEA directive, with the transboundary provisions of it and the public participation provisions and the right to take judicial reviews exhausted. And that's the legal route. The person doing that can do it and say he has nothing to do with the violence. That's nothing to do with me. I'm fighting this different. And the rest of the crowd can go out and do what they like. Now, to me, that makes perfect sense. If there weren't a few lovely people involved, I would not waste my breath. I would hope that you people along the Pylons will look at this and have a think about it. You're not getting them underground, folks. You're not. Whether you like it or whether you're not. Your councillors, your TDs are all for this. They are there not to lose your vote. They're not interested in you. Not one of them will raise a hand or do anything. That's the harsh reality. I have given you the path, and that's all I can do. I'll move ahead if there's somebody decides to do this. I've told you what the financial implications are. I've told you what the risks of bad lawyers are, or the risks of corruption, which is endemic in this country, Ireland. And I've told you how I would try to thwart them. And I'm long enough going about to know how these people think. Now, there'll be other questions to be put to me. People will comment underneath. That's the situation. That's it. It's late, getting on late in the day here. I want to get something done. And that's it. They're going, I think it's 0.9 of a mile from where I have the land, where I farm. And they're not in view except from the top hills. So that's the situation, folks. If you want windmills and you don't want pylons, well, you're not at the races. You have to read the thing. And some people won't read it, and they won't read it. I don't want any of that reading. I don't want any of that reading. They were at school. That's the avenue I would give you. Have a think. Have a look at it. There's still a bit of time. But you have to assess who you're dealing with. If the groups have people in them who are not for killing this dead, stopping it, end of story, why are you sticking to them? What the hell good are they? Where's all the money? I was in Muff School when I heard the North East Pylon representatives say they needed 2,000 from every house along the route. 2,000 euros. That was after a lot of money had already been granted. I think there was 15,000 gathered in Muff Parish alone. That's in East Cavan. Where is all that gone? They got their costs in the law case they took. Where is it? And one of the things I predict you'll see from all these groups is, I'll tell you the first thing we want now, before we talk about this, we want to raise up more money. We want 1,000 euros from every one of you. And they'll give them the 1,000. Here you are. Oh, that's my money. There's a check there. Oh, thank you. We'll give you your seat. For what? What are we going to do with it? Buy sandwiches for them out protesting. The bullion has not worked up to now, and if it works this time, that will be a huge education for me. And I want to see how that is. When I'm dealing with this for over 12 years, make up your mind. I am not going to waste any more time studying this or checking it out or anything else until there's a clear decision made and a wee bit of money gathered up to do it. And then we look at choosing the proper lawyers and have them cocooned that they'll have to do the job right, and they are not going to work for nothing, and it'd be a bad, poor day if they couldn't feed their families, and if we have to look for charity after spending what's reportedly €2 million already. We can't raise 70,000. That's my final thing on it. When you make your comment underneath and you ask questions, I'll make another video and get back to you. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I was put out of a meeting in Navan for Northeast Pylon Pressure Group because they said I was helping to stop the cables going underground. What's the story? They're not too friendly towards me. What's the story? That's up to you to decide. I'm moving on. Something else to be done. Bye. Thank you.